mean, I always liked pizza. And so when I grew up, I mean, for me, pizza was Lido's Pizza in Adelphi, the original location, Shakey's Pizza on Riggs Road in Adelphi, and Three Brothers in Beltway Plaza. Usually we went to those places because our sports team won a game. That connotation kind of has a sentimental value for me, as it's a celebratory food. I'd already been intrigued with everything that ferments. I had homebrewed in the early 90s, worked at the bakery, so I said, you know what, maybe I need to give my hand at trying to make a really good dough and see where that leads us. It was like books and magazine articles, and there was this weird pizza culture of people like, oh, my sauce is secret, this and that is secret, I won't tell you how to do anything. And along comes internet and YouTube. And there are pizza makers that I respect. Some of them are actually doing instructional videos. And I would go back and fastidiously watch, what are their hands doing? You know, what's the oven doing? Pizzamaking.com is the ultimate rabbit hole for anything you want to know about pizza. There are so many people on that website helping other people make a better pizza. And from sources like that, I learned about Jeff Verrazzano's self-cleaning cycle method, where you could hack the lock on your oven, put a piece of aluminum foil in there so that the sensor thought the oven was locked, and you could cook in the self-cleaning cycle at about 900 degrees. And so I have cooked multiple times so close to the broiler that the olive oil on the pizza hits its flash point and flames were coming out of the back of the oven. And that's when my wife was like, no. But that led to making an outdoor oven, because I almost burnt my house down on more than one occasion. That was almost a good thing, because it led me to the next step. I was already working upwards of 50, a little bit more sometimes, hours a week at my previous gig, and then spending literally the entire weekend, late at night, most of Saturday, prepping for this farmer's market, and then having to clean up afterwards. And dealing with that exhaustion really made me think, you know, if you're still enjoying doing this after all of that work at a regular job and then dedicating an entire weekend to a farmer's market stand, then maybe you should make a run at opening a pizza restaurant. So we're here at the JFX Farmers Market under the Jones Falls Expressway. Right here at Charm City Meadworks is where the Pizza Ruby stand was, really where I got my start. It'd get to 95 degrees by noon, and when we left on certain days, the grills got so hot and it was so hot outside, the feet of the grill were an inch or two into the asphalt. So you had to wrench the grill out of the ground. It was at the market that I got my first review from a guy named John Hauser at the Baltimore Sun, who said that the pizza was phenomenal. And that's when I realized that even though I thought it was pretty good, that, you know, maybe I've got something worth doing here on a more commercial basis. So that was pretty significant as well. Paulie G was a larger-than-life online presence on a website called Slice. And when I had my pizza blog, he kind of found out about me through there. We kind of hit it off as pizza colleagues, and that's when he confided in me about 60 Greenpoint Avenue, the first Paulie G's. And we talked almost every day through that. And shortly after that, it was, you know, I know that you're interested in doing the same yourself. You know, you might need a little help. And then he shared the vision about what Paulie G's was going to be. It's a like-minded, you know, brotherhood of pizza enthusiasts. In my opinion, restaurants typically never even make it to opening for one of three reasons. That's cash, governmental permitting issues, or structural issues you didn't foresee in the building. In the case of Paulie G's Hampden, it was all three. The general contractor that we had hired early on in the project actually died. I was looking at a giant space and wondering if we would ever be open. When it's late at night and 100 degrees and you're exposing brick and breaking a few toes, I thought maybe I was insane, and a part of me thought that I needed to give up. There's an emotional component to that as well, is that I was sucking in income for the restaurant, but not producing any for the family. And that's very stressful for not only for me, but more importantly, it's stressful for them. And I looked at myself in the mirror late one night after a long day of working and said, I'm not gonna fucking give up. So the ovens are Stefano Ferrara ovens, which come from Naples, Italy. Sophia and Gina, two of my favorite Italian women, so I named it in honor of them because that fire in the oven creates the pizza, as women create life. They don't cook exactly the same, and Stefano said these were like his children, and that no two are exactly the same because it's a handmade product. It's a dance. You know, with the way that the flames flicker, it's never quite the same. It's mesmerizing. And not to sound hokey, but I really believe from humans' evolution and our dependence on fire to survive, that's hammered into our DNA. You know, we make a nice dough here, and we commit ourselves to the time element, you know, to achieve that flavor. We do a significant portion of the fermentation at room temperature. You know, cold fermentation, which slows the process down. I like to play opera when I mix dough. And I know it sounds ridiculous, but I like to think that the dough itself likes the music. You know, you like to think that those sonic vibrations affect it in some small way. That's a living organism, it's yeast. And until the internal temperature of that dough in the pizza oven gets up to about 130 degrees Fahrenheit, that's a living thing, which is interesting because you're essentially killing it to give birth to a pizza. I'm pretty traditional with my sensibilities with pizza. For me, the marinara, the margarita, that simple, primal, earthy experience is, you know, the rustic qualities that I'm looking for. So the brisket pizza really goes against my sensibilities for the most part. So we go every Friday and pick up the brisket and some barbecue sauce. And it's typically gone by the end of the weekend, if not sooner. Sometimes we'll get it and it's gone all on Friday. I know there's an Italian somewhere rolling in his grave every time we put barbecue sauce and brisket on a pizza, but what are you gonna do? I mean, it's really popular. We take the brisket from Hampden's Blue Pit Barbecue, you know, David and Kara, wonderful owners, delicious brisket. They do the hard work, so they smoke it for many hours. We get it, we shred it in-house, and we basically put a swirl of barbecue sauce down, we put that delicious brisket, and we load the pizza up with it. A little bit of fresh mozzarella in the oven. It comes out, and then in honor of Blue Pit, we make a bourbon reduction here. So we put a swirl of that on, and then we do our house pickled red onion on top of that. It involves a vampire-proof satchel. There's so much garlic in that satchel, peppercorns, red pepper flakes, and vinegar, essentially. But you have to slice the onions really thin on the slicer, and you just need to let them soak. And the secret is you put a red beet in there, and that red beet will really give them that kind of really bright red color. And because you're slicing a whole bag of onions, there's a lot of crying involved. And for me, that really makes the pizza. It's a really nice kind of umami and sharp contrast between, you know, acidity and more of the umami from the meat makes an awesome pizza, in my opinion. I just have a bug. You know, people that are really love something and are passionate about pizza or music, or name whatever it is that you love, that's what I get to deal with every day. Next to my family, you know, my wife and my son, that's the biggest love in my life, is this round, simple thing that's just a pizza. When the fermentation and the dough is just right, you pull it out of the box and you can feel that it's like this pillow of air just waiting to be formed into the perfect crust. And when the toppings are prepped just the right way, and when the oven is at just the right temperature and amount of flame, and when those three things come together, it's like a phoenix rising out of the ashes. And we've reincarnated this into this living thing at that moment. And it's got kinetic energy to it. It's moving, it's steaming. And to be able to serve that to someone in that moment, I mean, that's why we're here.